Can you imagine a car so extraordinary that its current value exceeds $160 million? A vehicle so exceptional that only 4 units were ever made in history. But today, only the whereabouts of 3 are known, as one of them vanished as if it were a ghost. In fact, some have gone so far as to compare the story of this car with the story of the theft of the Mona Lisa, dubbing it the Mona Lisa of the car world. This is the story of the Bugatti Type 57S.C. Atlantic, possibly the most enigmatic and valuable car ever created. Let's go back to the 1930s, a time when elegance and innovation intertwined on every corner of Europe, as the world was recovering from the Great Depression, in a small workshop in Mols, in France. The Bugatti family was about to create something revolutionary. The story of the Atlantic started as an experiment. The first prototype, known as Aerolite, was built from a magnesium alloy called Electron, a material so flammable that it was impossible to weld. This technical limitation led to one of the Atlantic's most distinctive features, its iconic riveted dorsal fin, a practical solution that would become a legendary design element. But the true genius behind this masterpiece was Jean Bugatti, the son of founder Ettore. At just 23 years old, Jean had already shown exceptional talent for automotive design. The perfect combination of his father's engineering and his innovative vision made Bugatti the epitome of luxury. And in doing so, he didn't just design a car, he created a mobile work of art. Each Atlantic line was carefully thought out from its extraordinarily long head. Even its rear end, which flowed like a drop of water, was a vehicle that seemed to move even when it was still. The heart of the Atlantic was just as impressive as its exterior. Under that sculptural hood, a 3.3-liter engine pulsed, capable of producing 200 horsepower, an astronomical figure for the time. This allowed it to reach speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour in an era where horse-drawn carriages were still common on the streets. Each Atlantic was unique, handcrafted with obsessive attention to detail. The wheels protruding from the body, the split windows, the 6 exhaust outlets. Everything contributed to a silhouette that looked more like an Art Deco dream than an actual automobile. But the real story of the Atlantic was just beginning. Out of the 4 examples that were made, one would become the most sought-after car in history. A black ghost that vanished during World War II and continues to fuel legends and conspiracy theories to this day. For cars. For stories. A legend. Each Bugatti Type 57SC Atlantic. Coming out of the Molsheim factory, it has its own fascinating history, but only one would become the holy grail of the world. Automotive. The first Atlantic, chassis number 57374, was born in September 1936, featuring a distinctive metallic bluish-gray color. Its first owner was Baron Victor Rochelle, a man who resonated in the most exclusive circles of Europe. Initially, this particular model didn't have a supercharger, but Rochelle, always in pursuit of perfection, sent it back to the factory to have one installed. The story of this Atlantic is a fascinating journey through time. After its engine exploded in 1941, the car changed hands several times, crossing the Atlantic to the United States. It was painted red, modified, restored, and finally returned to its original glory. Today, it rests in the Malin Automotive Museum as a living testament to a golden era. The third Atlantic, produced with chassis 57473, has a story tinged with tragedy. Delivered to Jack Allshoe in 1936, the fate of this car would change dramatically during World War II. World War. Allshoe and his wife were murdered by the Nazis and the car began a long pilgrimage from owner to owner. Tragedy would strike again in 1955, when the car was involved in a fatal rail accident. The pieces were seized by the railway company for years, until it was finally restored, albeit using some non-original parts. A story of loss and rebirth that reflects the turbulent times he lived through. The last Atlantic produced, chassis 57591, was originally delivered by the government of the Republic of Mexico. Delivered to British tennis player and lawyer Richard Pope. This model features some notable differences in its design, such as an updated front end and exposed rear wheels. After 3 decades in Pope's hands, the car changed owners several times before finding its current home. In Ralph Lauren's collection, he painted it black and restored it to its original 1938 configuration. And then there's the second Atlantic produced, the legendary one, the black car, the black automobile. Chassis 57453 was Jan Bugatti's personal car. Period photographs show a vehicle of breathtaking beauty, painted in a deep black that seemed to absorb the light. Bugatti allowed only a select few to drive it, and it appeared at several motor shows, dazzling all who saw it. But in 1941, with the shadows of war looming over France, the black car was loaded onto a train bound for Bordeaux in a desperate attempt to save it from Nazi destruction. That train never reached its destination, and with it, it faded into history. One of the most valuable cars ever built. What really happened on that fateful journey? The theories are so intriguing. just like the car itself. February 18, 1941. A train loaded with valuable machinery and cars from the Bugatti factory departs for Bordeaux. Among its cargo is one of the most prized jewels of the automotive industry, the Voiture Noire. What happened next would become one of the greatest mysteries in the automotive world. With the German troops advancing through France, the Bugatti family made a desperate decision. They had to evacuate the most valuable things from the factory, including tools, documents, and of course the legendary Black Atlantic. The plan was simple: move everything to Bordeaux, far from the front lines, where it would be safe from the destruction of the war. Records show that the car was loaded onto the train along with other treasures from the company. Witnesses recall seeing the distinctive silhouette of the Atlantic among the cargo. It was an open secret. The most valuable car from Bugatti was in that convoy. But when the train arrived in Bordeaux, the Voiture Noire had vanished. What really happened? The theories are as fascinating as they are contradictory. The first theory suggests that the Bugatti family never put the car on the train. It all would have been an elaborate scheme to hide its true location from the Nazis. However, exhaustive searches of the Bugatti property never revealed any trace of the vehicle. A second, more sinister theory points to a theft during transit. Railway records show suspicious discrepancies, and there are rumors of irregular activity among railway workers. Some testimonies even mention German soldiers driving a mysterious black car along the French roads. The third theory takes us to the heart of the Third Reich. The Nazis were known for their obsession with collecting artistic and technological treasures. A unique Bugatti would have been a coveted prize. There are reports of German officers confiscating luxury cars and the Voiture Noire. It would have been the perfect trophy. But maybe the truth is simpler and more devastating. War doesn't discriminate between the ordinary and the extraordinary. An Allied bombing, a train accident, or just the chaos of war. They could have been enough to wipe this masterpiece off the map. The Bugatti factory in Bordeaux was bombed by the RAF. Was the Voiture Noire there? 80 years later, the search doesn't stop. Every so often, rumors about its discovery pop up. But they've all turned out to be false. Treasure hunters, collectors, and enthusiasts continue the search for the automotive Holy Grail. If it exists, its current value would exceed $160 million, making it the most expensive car in history, the most valuable in the world. The disappearance of the Voiture Noire not only created a fascinating mystery, it also cemented the legacy of a car that transcended its era to become a legend. A legacy so powerful that, decades later, it would inspire Bugatti to create something extraordinary. There are cars that define an era, and then there are cars that transcend time. The Bugatti Type 57S.C. The Atlantic wasn't just a vehicle. It was the culmination of a dream, the final testament of a genius, and the beginning of a legend that lives on to this day. How do you value the invaluable? Experts estimate that if the Voiture Noire were to appear today, its value would exceed $160 million, making it the most expensive car on the planet. But the true value of the Atlantic goes beyond monetary worth. Each of the three surviving examples is a witness to an era where art and engineering came together to create something extraordinary. Ralph Lauren's Atlantic, the Rothschild preserved at the Malin Museum, the restored old shoe. Each one tells a story of preservation, passion, and determination to keep a legacy alive. They're more than just cars. They're mobile masterpieces that continue to captivate entire generations. The Atlantic's influence on automotive design is undeniable. Its iconic dorsal fin, born out of a technical necessity, became a design element that has inspired generations of designers. The fluid curves, the obsessive attention to detail, the perfect fusion of form and function. The Atlantic set a standard that remains the benchmark in the automotive industry. Each line of the Atlantic was a challenge to convention. In a time when cars were mostly utilitarian, the Atlantic dared to dream. Its design wasn't just a hallmark of its time, it was timeless. In 2019, Bugatti decided to pay the highest tribute to its legendary Black Ghost, and that's how the new one was born. The Voiture Noire, a unique hypercar valued at over 11 million euros, is not a replica or a reinterpretation. It is a tribute to the spirit of innovation and excellence that Jean Bugatti imprinted on the original. This new La Voiture Noire represents the connection between Bugatti's glorious past and its visionary future. With 1,500 horsepower and a completely hand-built body, it's a reminder that the Atlantic spirit lives on in the realm of technology, the brand's DNA. 80 years after its disappearance, the original Atlantic mystery continues to fuel dreams and speculation. Perhaps, somewhere in a forgotten barn or a dusty garage, the real La Voiture Noire is waiting to be discovered. Or maybe its fate is to remain just as it is, a legend. A ghost that reminds us that the best mysteries are the ones that are never solved.